Hello there, welcome to Doctor Who Radio Show. That's the way it goes, and these lovely gents with me are...
Me put out from upstate New York.
In Pintsville, UK.
Brilliant. Two gents who should know all about the next fellow we're talking about, who is none other than the second Doctor, Patrick Troughton, the one who took over from William Hartnell at the very end of the 10th Planet, and who, oddly enough, has had a bit of a sort of rebirth through the rediscovery of the web of fear and the enemy of the world, shedding more light on his portrayal. But who was Patrick Troughton and who was the second Doctor? Well, Patrick Troughton himself was born on the 25th of March 1920 in Mill Hill, Middlesex, England, in the United Kingdom. He was also, just like John Pertwee, someone who served in the Second World War, which is rather curious and another part of what made him the extraordinary character outside of the second Doctor, never mind in Doctor Who. He was nearly sunk by an E-boat. In fact, his ship during the Second World War actually rammed it and destroyed two of their aircraft. And he also wore a tea cosy on his head in the North Sea, which is very much like him playing the flute or the stovepipe hat he has in Power of the Daleks. So, how would you describe Patrick Troughton and the second Doctor from the beginning of his era?
He was more comedical. There was more comedy in this performance.
Yes, more than William Hartnell, certainly.
More than Hartnell.
No, it's a complete contrast. And the last episode of Doctor Who Radio Show, it was confirmed by Jimmy that William Hartnell basically picked him as his personal favourite to succeed him.
Hartnell said there was no other actor in all of England who could play the Doctor.
Ah, high praise, that is. Oddly enough, both of you, I was reading about him earlier, and there's a film called Escape, where Patrick Troughton, one of his first film roles, and who should he appear with? I'm not sure whether it was, in lots of scenes or not. I haven't actually seen the film. But the person he appeared with was none other than William Hartnell himself.
Ah!
Yeah.
So that's how they knew each other. Okay.
Which also happened with John Pertwee as well, bizarrely. So he must have known of his acting from a, actor's point of view. From all accounts, Patrick Troughton was the sort of actor who would actually rally around the troops. He'd be an easy, fun-loving prankster. And there are many stories that Fraser Hines and the other second Doctor era companions talk about where he was pranksing people. So the impression is he was an easy, fun-loving person, and I'm presuming he would have been a bit of a blessing for the production after William Hartnell's grumpiness near the end. Oh, you're right. Oh, and with us, everyone, is Tim Wells. How are you doing, Tim?
All right, what's going on?
So, what do you think of Patrick Troughton and the second Doctor, Tim? The man and the character.
He's one of my favorites.
Ooh, above everybody else, or?
Well, I wouldn't say that, but he's definitely up there. I like his style. I like his stories. I wish there were more of them. Hopefully there will be more next year.
Blimey. Well, we were just discussing his time in the Second World War, and that seems to have built him as a person. Where did the second Doctor and Patrick Troughton actually start and begin, everyone, though?
Oh, it's impossible to say. He's a very good character actor. I mean, he went straight to doing The Six Wives of Henry VIII. playing a completely different part. You've probably seen him in The Omen.
Yep.
He's very chameleon-like. He can play anything, really, I guess.
And also, there's also the first actor to play Robin Hood on television.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. Before Doctor Who, he was playing Robin Hood in a series on television.
Awesome.
His grandson was actually in the latest Robin Hood series, bizarrely enough. So,
unfortunately, many of his early episodes as the Doctor was wiped by the BBC, including his first episode as the Doctor.
He was sort of almost playing several characters in that, because he was impersonating the Earth Inspector at the very start. That seems to be his sort of skill, playing different characters. I don't think any other Doctors actually really could do that particularly well. They're all sort of usually playing themselves to a certain degree or another. Have you seen the Enemy of the World, everyone? Because that really does showcase it.
Yes. That is very good. It's nice seeing it rather than reconstructed with just stills. It's real nice. He's real good at it.
It also shows how good an actor Troughton was.
Yes, it does.
I was actually watching that yesterday, and it was amazing how you could switch characters. And there's more than one moment in that story where you're absolutely fooled who is who. I mean, if you'll pardon the pun. And, well, he was who, but it's very extraordinary. And then it sort of harks back to his Second World War experience, because Salamander is basically a sort of Stalin Mussolini dictator, really. Only really 21 years after the end of the Second World War. He wanted to black up, though, for the old Doctor at one point or something.
I've got him in a film on DVD. Scars of Dracula. He was in that.
Oh yeah, that was 1973.
And he was in the Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell.
Yeah, that was 1973.
Yeah.
The Omen was 76. He was in Sinbad in the Eye of the Tiger in 74. It was Space 1999. Gary and Sylvia Anderson, Martin Landau, Barbara Bain. He was the villain in the second series. In one of the episodes, he played the villain.
An appearance in All Creatures Great and Small, which also starred Peter Davison.
Box of Delight. That's the one I always remember.
That's right. He's also in an episode of The Goodies, British comedy, The Goodies.
And
I think the episode was called The Baddies. He was in that episode.
He played Nicholas Lyndhurst's dad, I think, in one of his last sort of TV roles, sort of comedy or something like that as well. Oh, it's holy smokes. You do get the feeling, though, that reading his life story, that he was like John Pertwee in the sense that he's done all sorts. I mean, he's a hell of an eccentric character. I mean, he's fitted in perfectly.
In Jason and the Argonauts, he just had one scene in it. Anybody remember that film?
What's in the film?
Jason and the Argonauts.
Jason and the Argonauts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that film. I don't remember him.
He's being by these flying creatures, and he's trying to.
What? I remember him dead in the Eye of the Tiger.
He's stuck on the island, and he's basically at the mercy of the flying creatures. He has to sort of keep them happy. Yeah. And he's sort of almost blind or something like that, I believe. That was rather interesting. But how did he How did he actually change everybody, the actual role, the actual character of the Doctor? Because it went through one element.
I don't think he settled into it till about maybe 3 or 4 stories in. He was just doing anything, seeing what would work.
Ah.
Not having seen those, though, it's really hard to tell that. You really don't. The first complete story you now see him in is probably Tomb of the Cybermen, right? So.
Now there's on YouTube, I think it's called Doctor Who at 40. It was the 40th anniversary of Doctor Who. And Peter Davison and Colin Baker, both independent of each other, say that Patrick Troughton is the reason Doctor Who continued. Because he had to make you believe that the Doctor can change and be the same person. He said if the audience believed that, the show would have been canceled. And that the longevity of the show is due to him convincing the audience that he's still the Doctor, even though he's a different personality.
Yeah, I agree with that, because that would be the first time they ever changed the lead actor, and it could have been a flop. And, but once he decided to leave, it just became the standard thing. Oh, we're just trend.
Now, he gave advice to Peter Davison to limit the role to 3 years so that you will not be... And that's what Peter Davison did.
It became a sort of industry standard. It's called Troughton's.
Yeah, the Troughton law.
Yeah.
Do it only for 3 years so you don't get typecast, no matter what role you have.
Ah.
Well, the funny thing is that Peter Davison is one of the Doctors that didn't get typecast, because he was playing 2 other series at the same time he was doing Doctor Who. Plus, he kept going back to All Creatures. So, I mean, he never was typecast as the Doctor.
Ah.
I don't know if that's because he left after 3 years.
Kind of staggering. It's rather amazing how even when, at the start of Power of the Daleks, like Tim said, it took him a few stories to sort of feel his way through the role. It's amazing how he still does he plays the second Doctor almost as though he's enjoying the fact that the companions aren't really sure if it is the Doctor, because they react, you can't be the Doctor. And there's another bit where one of them says, but you're the Doctor. And he says, are you so sure? I don't know, but maybe he doesn't know himself. Perhaps it's the first time he's ever done it. He's not sure if he's imagining it or, gone mad or something. But it's rather curious because he's changing. He has a hat. He sort of has a sort of mischievous character like William Hartnell, and then that sort of mellows and gets more rounded. So by the time you see him in something like Enemy of the World, he's in full command of how he wants to push the role of the second Doctor. And I think perhaps really Ben and Polly were good for him, but I think really as soon as Fraser Hines was introduced, that was it. He found somebody he could really click with. They're just on the same wavelength. But I do love Power of the Daleks, and I do like the earlier ones. And then you have the fact that the stories become perhaps a little bit more professional, more tighter scripts, and more sort of worldly rather than science fiction, really. And Tim has lifted the building, everyone. But, yes, so when we get to, say, a story like Fury from the Deep, how do you think his character has changed by then, the second Doctor?
I don't think his character ever changed. His character seemed to be consistent to me throughout his run and on his returns. The 3 Doctors, the 5 Doctors, the 2 Doctors.
Ah, yes. He is actually the main past Doctor returned the most, not just once, but several times.
In fact, the two Doctors, it was interesting. His Doctor was working for the Time Lords.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Season 6B. Yeah, the idea that at the end of the War Games, he didn't actually regenerate straight away. He was intercepted by the celestial, sort of CIA Time Lords, I think. In essence, they got him to basically be a sort of agent for them. And he regenerated later on.
Him and Jamie. Ended Jamie from being returned to his own time.
Yeah, because in that story, you see an older Jamie, an older TARDIS, and an older second Doctor. So I always get the feeling that the one you see in the Three Doctors is probably...
Troughton did say that it was grueling, the work was.
Yeah.
And he decided to leave in 1969 after 3 years in the role. He was afraid of being typecast, and he was at the time 40 to 44 episodes per year, which must have been really grueling for him.
Yeah.
So I think the Three Doctors for second Doctor was just before his, exile. The Five Doctors one was again post-exile, and then the Two Doctors is when he's actually on one of his missions. So that's a bit interesting. You never see that with any other Doctors. There's no suggestion that there might be more to the end of the Doctor, persona. You don't see the Fifth Doctor being sort of time scooped. Although the Sixth Doctor is actually having his timeline sort of manipulated again by the Time Lords. How do you think companions fared in the Second Doctor's era compared to the first?
Well, him and Jamie were great together. The relationship. Jamie's one of the best companions throughout the 50-year run.
Yeah, the longest too.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
And I think the best group was with him, Jamie, and Zoe. I think that was the more entertaining group.
Yeah, it does seem like they got an absolute brilliant sort of duo. Yeah, totally brilliant, which you wouldn't see really again, I don't think, until Sarah Jane Smith and the Fourth Doctor. Not just sort of in sync with each other, but actually energized by each other, you know what I mean? Sort of thing. Which is the least good, the least best Second Doctor companion, would you say, without being rude to anybody? None of them. Brilliant.
What was the question? What was the question?
Which one of the companions from the Second Doctor's era, let's say, didn't fare them, well the most, rather than say which one was the worst?
I wouldn't say they were bad, but I would say Victoria was a bit too whiny, which is understandable. She's from that time, but she could have been a little stronger, I think. That's why I think when they got Zoe in, it made it the perfect team, the perfect TARDIS team. And yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yes.
I would say she was the least effective of his companions.
I think they sort of repeated that type of thing with Nissa, really. A clever idea, nice, but sort of ineffectual. Because they were sort of aping the Second Doctor a little bit in the Fifth Doctor's era. Adric was almost like a less good version of Jamie McCrimmon in a strange way. But Zoe, wow, what a really good companion.
Yeah.
And actually famous before Sarah Jane Smith, strangely, being a computer programmer.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And not much of a screamer, except in the mind of Robert. I mean, the mind Robin for Victoria. So.
And that story, she just screamed, but it's more like for effect rather than just for the hell of it. That's the difference, really.
Yeah, but I mean, she's kind of out of character for that whole episode, and it was basically a leftover script that was, that was written with Victoria in mind, I guess. In all the other episodes she's in, she's a much stronger character. And she's usually fighting with the doctor over who's smarter, which is always fun.
It's an interesting thing, really, with Zoe, because in Patrick Troughton's earlier days, I believe it's true that he actually he shared the 1933 Walter Knox Prize for Chemistry with a future Nobel Prize winner, Francis Crick, who also attended his school, Mill Hill. So to have him paired with Zoe, who was intelligent and knew chemistry, is another thing where his own personal life, oddly enough, was returning to sort of give him, character inspiration type thing. Tim leaves the building again, no offence to Elvis. So, the two of you, what would you say was last words, because we have 10 minutes left. If you had one word to describe Patrick Troughton's Second Doctor and his contribution, without using cliches, what would it be? And you have 30 seconds each.
Second Doctor.
I'd say irreplaceable.
Irreplaceable, cool. Steve, yourself?
Fourth Doctor.
Perfect.
Doctor, the Master.
Brilliant. And Jimmy?
I think he was a comedic doctor.
I'm going to have a go, because it's very difficult just with one word to describe Patrick Troughton, let alone the Second Doctor. Consummate.
All right.
Consummate. He was consummate and professional, that's 2 words, in everything he did. That's 4 words. And I think, quite frankly, he was, in some respects, way better than the Fourth Doctor. Way better. I seriously believe, without him, he redefined the role after William Arnold, but also reinvented it. He sort of modernised it. And it's still a really good interpretation in 2013. And that's the truth, really. He may have been the Second Doctor, but in some respects, in the sort of, William Arnold was a Victorian child, he was a Victorian Doctor, he was the first sort of modernist Doctor, if you like. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all the time we have for Doctor Who Radio Show. I have been, that's the way it goes at 9, and these gents who have kindly given us our, their time have been
Stephen Price, Wales, UK.
Jimmy Porter from upstate New York.
Tim Wells in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Cool. And until next time, keep doing.
Bye-bye.
Bye.